Hey everyone, today's lesson is going to be about portrait drawing, and in this video I'm really going to show you how to start off your drawing. Now the method I'm using can also be used for figure drawing as well, any kind of subject matter which dictates form. So just to get started, if you're doing live drawing classes or whatever, it's the same idea. We're going to try to find the gesture of the pose, and a head has a pose as well. What I'm using today is just a charcoal pencil. I think just Conte Apari, and it's a B pencil. I used my sandpaper and my knife to sharpen that stuff. So let's go ahead. Now again, we just have a blank page here, so we need something to work with. In any kind of painting, drawing, whatever subject, you just need to throw something down. Don't think about, unless it's like a commission maybe, just put something down on the page. You're here to practice and study, so don't be afraid of your first line. So again, I'm looking at this head and I'm trying to think of the direction it's going, and I'm either going to put down my first line is either going to be about the side of his head or going down the middle of his face there. And for today I'm going to do the middle of his face, and that gesture speaks to me the most. So let's do that. There we go, and that's all I need right now. I don't know if it's accurate, but it's just something to work with. And now let's think about bigger forms to find. So we have one line down, we need a few more. I might try find the brow line now. Again, thinking about the direction, I don't think it's completely horizontal. I think it's going around the head at a bit of a tilted angle. So I'll throw that in. Don't be afraid to extend your line out. You don't know where it's ending yet, so throw it down as far as you can go for the most part. That way you can fix it and change it around later. And don't be too stiff with these lines. So now I have 2 lines down. Fantastic. Easy to work with. We need to find maybe the bottom of the nose. I always find is a good place to go next. Again, I'm not exactly sure where it is on my page, but in my head, if that's the forehead and that's the chin somewhere, it needs to be around here somewhere. So let's pop it in. Yeah, that's fine. It could be lower later, but that's okay, it can be changed. Maybe we'll find where the chin is. Again, another kind of stationary bit. I'm working from a picture today, but it's the same idea as when you're working from life. Again, this isn't the only way to start out a portrait drawing. It's more of an exercise. More of a when you go to draw someone. I think with all these exercises and methods that you take on, you're kind of trying to figure out which way is the best to approach a subject at the time, depending on line and gesture and whatnot, and where you're sitting in the model. I'm just going to put in where the top of the forehead is, and now we've got loads of lines coming down, which is great. Of the main features, we got we know that's the brow, we know that's the bottom of the nose, we know that's the chin, we know that's the forehead, for the most part. Now let's come across maybe. Let us go to that side of the head. We're just going to try to think about how far that is out compared to the rest of our lines here. So if we're going to say that's the middle, bottom of the nose, we could think about the angle between that and the brow. I'm going to use the outside of the brow as my anchor point here. Yeah, I'll put it down. I'll say it's like around here, and I'll just throw a line down following that gesture. Yeah, that's fine. Again, when I sweep, I'm not using my wrist too much. I'm holding my pencil in place and kind of using my elbow. Wrist is maybe just slightly in it. If I was standing back at my easel, I'd be using my shoulder a bit more. Now we have those points. Let's figure out where to put the rest in. If we're going to keep maybe going inwards here. If I said that's the outside, maybe the outside of the eye comes in a little bit there. Yeah, so I'm going to say that's the outside of my eye. That's fine. Maybe where that that tip of the nose comes out, if that's the inside of my eye, or the outside of my eye, I will come in a little bit. Again, I'm just using the photo as a reference, using my anchor points as proportional points. Again, you don't need to know anything about the underlying anatomy of the nose and the eyes and whatnot. We're just going to place down points, keeping all the simple shapes. I'm not trying to get a likeness yet. And really, you don't. I think if you go about it in this method and keep everything simple shapes and simple matters, you never really need to think about likeness. It'll kind of just form naturally. Let us think about the next area. We have that coming in. Maybe we'll get the end of the mouth there, which we can see it in. It's a little bit in from the tip of the nose, so I'm going to pop it down this way. Again, I know the mouth doesn't come down like that, but that's my indicator. I'll use that line as an indicator layer. And where are we going next? Maybe we'll find where the bridge comes in here. And for that, I might just use the angle of where the tip of the nose I kind of gather is. Just throw it up. Just a straight line, and then it comes in this way. And I know this whole area is the inside of the eye. Now, next we'll find maybe, if we come in just to maybe finish up that tip of the nose there, we're going to try find the end of that, the other side of that nostril. Going to look at maybe that bridge, bring it down in my head. That comes up a little bit from the bottom of the nose. If you don't want to do an imaginary, if you don't want to like think about it in your head, you can actually just throw down the line. Now you know that's the nostril for the most part. Again, it could be off by a little bit. Very easily changeable right now. We're doing like these lines aren't hard to take off the page later. And then next we will find the mouth. There's not a lot of distance between the bottom of the nose and the middle of the lips, but I'm just going to go think about the distance between the bottom of the nose and the chin, and just think about whereabouts the mouth lays in there. It's not 50% of the way through, it's a little bit up from that. So I'm going to say about here. I'm not going to draw it straight across because the mouth wraps around the head. So let's think about that. Let's try find the end. Actually, maybe we'll just wrap it around like we think we do. Again, I don't know the end of this yet. I'm going to use the nostril to find out where the end of that is. Use the angle in the nostril here. Yeah, that looks about right for me. And then I'll finish that off. Now I know where my mouth, I know where my nose is, I know where my eyes, that right eye is going to be. We have so much of the form down. We have basically an armature to work off of here. Let us go finish up the bridge of the nose. Again, I'm just kind of... Oh, I just did that without explaining it, but let me explain it now. I'm just looking at the distance between the dark side of the nose here, and then where the light hits it. There's a bit of light in that corner there, and I'm using that to just judge the distance between the bridge here. Following this line, really, following this gesture. And I can use the nostril to figure out where the rest is going as well. I'm just thinking about it in angles, using the light to help me. Let us then find maybe where this brow and this eye is going. We could think maybe the inside of that eye. I have the nostril to work with. I could even use this, the end of the mouth if I wanted to. But I think I'll use the bridge, or the, there's also like, I think people call this the key, but the whole thing's the bridge. So we'll use maybe the corner of the bridge, or that's where the nostril is going to be. And then the inside of the eye is coming in from that. It's not straight up from the nostril because the head's tilted, I think. So maybe up from here. And then where's the inside of the eye in relation to the bridge? Down a bit. So maybe like about here. And that's where I'm going to mark where the inside of my eye is. Now, oh, I forgot to tell you, this image is from the Croquis Cafe website. Very good website for references, and they do weekly videos on like a figure drawing class. Super handy and like really well priced for what you get out of it. I'll pop a link down in the description. Alright, so we have the inside of the eye to work with. Now we just need to maybe find, I'll pop where that corner of that eyebrow is, and we need to find the end of that eye. How are we doing that? If we're the inside of the eye, we still have the nostril. Here we have the corner of the mouth to work with. That one's the hardest one, I think, to work with. Maybe the corner of the mouth. I'll use the inside of it. I'll use that nostril. Think of that angle there. Again, I'm not worried about likeness in this. This is just me getting best practices. That looks okay. I know that's the bottom of the eye there. Oh, that's the inside of the eye. The end of it is a bit up in that, so it's coming at an angle, so I'm going to go maybe that way. Let me see if that looks correct. I don't think it's that harsh, so maybe it's a bit more here. Yeah, that's where I'll put the end of that eye. That's where I'll say the eyelids are meeting up. Yeah, that looks fine to me. And then I'll finish up the brow. Grand. Again, it looks, it doesn't look like a person yet, but we can see where we're starting to make the structure down, where we can, when we go into shade and whatnot, or if you're using color, you don't have to worry about proportion and where everything is. You just play along. You just design what you're doing. So the next part here I'd go with is maybe what do we need next? Maybe I'll just clean up this side, just for my own sake. Bring this in a bit more. Think about that cheek. This comes out obviously way too much, so we're gonna draw it in more. Where does that cheek end? This way, because it's coming out. Connects back up with the eye socket. Bring that brow in and back up to that forehead. Slowly chipping away at this drawing. I say slowly, but the more accurate you do things, and not just this method, but design, getting a lot of work into the foundation early on really actually speeds up your drawing, because you're not worried about accuracy as much later on. Let's see where we are now. We'll get maybe that chin in, just to double check that's all good. That's where where did I say? Yeah, that's where my lip ends. Yeah, that looks fine. Then that must mean the chin must stop here and start to turn in this way. Or just start to turn here. It's a bit hard with the beard. We can kind of slowly, we'll use the light really to help us there, where it stops and where it starts to turn. Yeah, we'll go this way. Sometimes I always find with the jawline, you kind of have to guess. I always find the jaws one of the harder parts of the portrait, weirdly enough. It's not the eyes, it's always the jaw. Just a bit, there's a word for ambiguous? Yeah, it's a bit ambiguous where it ends and where it starts. I'll go with ambiguous, but I'm sure there's a better word. Now let's maybe get where that hair is, come down to sideburns. Just judging the distance from where I put the end of that brow and where the sideburns start. Putting that down on my page. Again, still just kind of using angles and gesture lines, or construction lines to figure stuff out. Think about the width of those sideburns. And I'm not super convinced on where I put the jawline, but we'll change it later. It's okay if it's wrong. Maybe we'll think about the bottom of that earlobe. I'll use, what will I use? Maybe the bottom of the nostril to find that. Yeah, it's a little bit up from the bottom of the nostril. I think it's because he's raised his face, and again, it's at a slight angle. So maybe like that. And also, you can't, when you're drawing from a photo, you kind of have to. These photos are extremely good quality, but I think there's always a bit of camera lens distortion. So, you know, that whole thing where like, oh, the eye, the top of the eye lines up with the brow, and then, or is it the top of the? No, the top of the. What am I trying to say? The top of the ear lines up with the top of the brow, and then the bottom of the nostril lines up with the bottom of the ear and stuff. But distortion and perspective and head tilt and all that changes that. It's good to think about that. Let's think where we are here. Where was I doing? The ear. That's what we're doing. Let's figure out where the corner of that. So sideburns are to turn into the ear. The ear's all angles, so it's actually quite nice to work with. Again, I think I've done that too small. Yeah, something's off about that ear now. I think too small this way. Or too thick one way. Let me just erase this. Yeah, that feels better. Okay. We know where we are now. Now let me think about maybe we'll get that neck in. Perfect. We'll get the other side in. Again, I'm just, where is the start? I'm looking at maybe the inside of that lip, and like they actually nearly perfectly align there. I'll turn the neck, and we'll get into where the trapezius is. Or is that still the neck? No, it's a trapezius. Yeah, we'll go with trapezius. Same here. We know they connect somewhere, so we think about where I put that corner of the jaw. So I'm not exactly happy with it. Yeah, we'll try here. Now we'll find where the hair is. Do the hair in a simple shape. We won't confuse ourselves with all these curls yet. The curls are actually lovely if you can get a nice drawing out of them. But keep them simple shapes first of all. I'm not going to go in drawing each individual hair yet. Or probably at all, really. Just when I'm putting this down, I'm just kind of thinking the distance between brow and hairline, brow and hairline, brow and hairline, brow and hairline every time. Down. This comes out a little bit around here. I need to sharpen my pencil soon, I think. But it'll be enough for today. Simple shapes all the way through. There's a corner where our hair's about to turn. Hair's always kind of a one where you just throw it in and then you can fix it later. It's one of the harder ones I find to figure out where it ends, but you nearly kind of have to design it yourself sometimes. Alright, so what are we missing really here? We got nearly everything to mark down. Maybe we'll just finish popping in where that eye's going to be. Using the exact same methods we were using earlier, just maybe working at a smaller level. All using angles. Angles. Where things start and end. The eye must be doing kind of similar thing around here. That this eye's open, and this eye's a bit squinted. So we'll think about that. It won't be the exact same size. And also one of them's in darkness completely, so when we go to shade later, that will influence our decisions. Because we're thinking about hard and soft edges, which we'll go into the next video. This will look completely different to this. And even like the area of this will look different to this area. But yeah, we'll finish it up here. Let's pop where the eyebrow is again. Eyebrow here. Eyes around here, but I don't really want to put the pupil in. Whenever I put the pupil in, I find it just distracts me. Maybe put the nostril in. Do you know when like you're starting to do a painting and like of a portrait, and then like you start with the eye for some reason, just because you never do, but you start with the eye today, and then it just throws you all off. So I usually try to leave the eyes till the end. Alright, I think I don't think we're missing anything really. Yeah, maybe we'll leave it here today. And on the next video, I'll show you guys just how to move to the next step of the portrait. It'll be like shading, separating from light and dark, and then working with edges to make it a bit more complete. And we won't do full hours and hours of portrait drawing, but in the series, but we'll I'll show you how to get there, basically. Thanks for stopping by.